Imagine an age before memory, before mankind learned to speak, before the first city rose from clay. An age when the world was ruled not by kings or mortals, but by beings whose footsteps shaped mountains and whose breath stirred storms. Now imagine that in this forgotten age, two civilizations stood at the edge of eternity. One, a radiant empire of impossible technology and divine lineage known as Atlantis, and the other, a gathering storm of rising gods destined to claim dominion over Earth. The sky crackles with celestial fire. The sea trembles beneath forces too ancient to name. And somewhere between myth and history, a question hangs like a sword suspended over the world. Was Atlantis destroyed not by nature, but by the very gods who would later create humanity? Tonight, we dive into the lost epic that whispers from Plato's dialogues and echoes through Greek mythology, unraveling a cosmic war erased from the timeline. A war between Atlantis and the Olympians. A war that ended an age and began our own. What we uncover may rewrite not just myth, but the story of the world itself. Welcome to this exciting new episode of the channel, The Eternal Odyssey, where we explore the stories of myths and fantasies. Chapter 1, Before the First Dawn. Before the Olympians carved their thrones atop Mount Olympus. Before Zeus ever lifted a thunderbolt, the world was shaped by older powers, titans, primordial beings, and ancient rulers whose laws governed sea, sky, and stone. In this abyss of forgotten prehistory, a civilization flourished across the oceans like a dream made real. Atlantis, a kingdom said to be blessed by Poseidon himself. Plato described Atlantis not as fantasy, but as memory, an echo passed down through priests, through dynasties, through time. Yet the details he provided hint at something more than a simple moral tale. The Atlanteans harnessed forces beyond mortal comprehension. Their palaces gleamed with orichalcum, their towers pierced the heavens, and their ships moved with a grace no Bronze Age vessel could match. They lived in harmony with the sea, with elemental energies, with secrets inherited from beings older than humanity. But myths tell us that such power rarely sits quietly. In the shadows of this golden age, new gods were stirring, young, ambitious, celestial beings who had just overthrown the Titans and sought to reshape the world according to their vision. For a brief moment, the earth held its breath, caught between an ancient empire of demigods and a rising pantheon hungry for dominion. And it is here, in this fragile balance, that the seeds of the greatest cosmic conflict were sown. Chapter 2, The Atlantean Legacy. To understand how the Olympians and Atlantis collided, we must first grasp what Atlantis truly was. Not merely a lost island, but the apex of an era when divine blood mingled with mortal ambition. Poseidon, god of the sea, was said to have fathered the first Atlantean kings, infusing them with strength beyond human measure and understanding far surpassing their age. Their cities were built upon concentric rings of land and water, engineered with such precision that even modern minds marvel at the descriptions. But beneath the magnificence lay a deeper complexity. The Atlanteans believed themselves chosen, heirs to the divine order that the Titans had once governed. They possessed old knowledge that the Olympians, new to their thrones, had yet to comprehend or control. They understood the patterns of the stars, the pulses of the earth, the rhythm of the sea, and perhaps even the fabric of creation itself. In some accounts, they experimented with energies extracted from crystals. In others, they commanded weather or manipulated elemental forces once reserved for primordial beings. Such mastery placed them not beneath the gods, but beside them, and nothing threatens a rising pantheon more than a rival born of the ancient world, one whose roots reach into eras the Olympians sought to erase. As Atlantis expanded its influence across the Mediterranean, the newly enthroned gods watched with growing unease. A confrontation, it seemed, was inevitable. Chapter 3, the Olympian Ascendancy, when Zeus defeated Kronos and the last of the Titans fell into Tartarus. The Olympians did not merely win a war, they reset the universe. They established new laws, new hierarchy, new cosmic boundaries, yet despite their triumph, they ruled an unsettled world. The Titans had once been revered by many ancient people, possibly including those who would become the Atlanteans. The Olympians, though victorious, lacked age, legacy, and the reverence that comes with millennia of worship. And nothing undermines a new power more swiftly than the presence of an older one. Zeus, ever watchful, knew this. Poseidon understood it even more deeply, for he was tied to both worlds, brother to the new king of gods, but also father of Atlantis rulers. In the halls of Olympus, debates must have raged. What place should Atlantis hold? Were they allies or threats? Would they accept the new order? Or did they still cling to Titan ideals? Meanwhile, the Olympians were shaping the earth to their will. Athena introduced wisdom and cities. Hephaestus forged divine machines. Demeter cultivated fields that could feed nations. Humanity was not yet fully formed, but the blueprint was emerging. A world centered around the gods, defined by them, governed by them. But how could this new world flourish while Atlantis, a living testament to an older cosmic lineage, stood at its center like a beacon of another age? The Olympians, young yet unimaginably powerful, faced a decision that would alter the fate of the world: coexist or conquer. Chapter 4, the war that time forgot. No scroll records it. No epic poem names it. No temple wall preserves it. But between the lines of myth and the silences of history lies the shadow of a war so ancient and catastrophic that its memory was buried by gods and mortals alike. The conflict between Atlantis and Olympus was not a simple clash of armies. It was a struggle for cosmic ownership. Imagine Atlantean warships forged from metals that shimmered like captured lightning, gliding across storm-tossed seas. Imagine their priests summoning elemental forces, invoking old Titan spirits, calling upon the deep powers of the ocean that Poseidon had once commanded alone. Now imagine the Olympians descending in fury, Zeus casting thunder that split the horizon, Athena guiding ethereal warriors, Ares roaring across the battlefield with fire in his wake. The skies would have been torn apart, the seas would have boiled, the earth would have cracked, open like an egg, and in the center of it all, Poseidon, torn between blood and brotherhood, faced the greatest dilemma of any god: either stand with his divine kin, or defend his mortal divine children. Some myths suggest he sided with Zeus. Others whisper that his rage fueled the destruction of Atlantis. But in every version, the outcome is the same. The war was too great, too destructive, too threatening to the fragile cosmic balance the Olympians had just established. And so, the world remembers only fragments, hints, metaphors. Plato's story may have been a surviving echo, a faint whisper of a war erased by divine decree. Chapter 5, the fall of Atlantis. When the end finally came, it was not a single moment, but a cascade of calamities. The myths describe an entire civilization swallowed by the sea in a single night. But behind that poetic image may lie the memory of something far more profound. Picture Atlantis at the height of its power, its towers gleaming in the last sunlight, unaware that the gods had already decided its fate. The earth begins to shake, not naturally, but with divine force. Storms gather, not from weather, but from wrath. Lightning scorches the sea. Waves rise higher than walls. The very architecture that symbolized Atlantean mastery begins to fracture. Scholars often interpret the destruction as punishment for hubris. But what if hubris was only part of the story? What if the true reason lay in the geopolitics of the divine, an unavoidable clash between old authority and new sovereignty? Poseidon's final act, whether out of sorrow or necessity, may have been to withdraw his protection, allowing the sea to reclaim what it once nurtured. As the concentric rings of Atlantis crumbled, as its firelit streets drowned beneath churning black water, the Olympians sealed their victory. With Atlantis gone, the last vestige of the Titan-aligned world vanished, and in the aftermath, the gods would reshape the earth not just for themselves, but for the beings they intended to create: humans, fragile, dependent, malleable, and devoted. The fall of Atlantis was not merely a tragedy. It was the prologue to humanity. Chapter 6, The Age of Man begins, with Atlantis lost beneath the waves and the Olympians secure upon their thrones. The world entered an era defined not by forgotten titans or demigod kings, but by mortals in the quiet that followed the cosmic war. Zeus breathed life into new civilizations. Prometheus, the rebel titan, shaped mankind from clay. Athena taught them craft and wisdom. Demeter gave them agriculture. The gods forged humanity not as rivals, but as inheritors of a world devastated by divine conflict, designed to worship, remember, and rebuild. Yet echoes of Atlantis lingered, hidden in myth, architecture, and memory. Ancient Egyptians spoke of a Zepi Tepi, a first time when gods walked the earth. Mesopotamians told of divine floods that reset creation. Even the Greeks preserved the faint outline of a world before theirs, a golden age, a fall, and a rebirth. All these myths may point toward the same forgotten truth. Humanity was born in the aftermath of a war between gods and a divine civilization, a war so immense that it reshaped the planet and erased an entire epoch. The Olympians emerged victorious, but even they could not fully bury the past. Atlantis endures in whispers, in ruins long vanished, in the human yearning for a lost paradise. And perhaps somewhere deep beneath the ocean, the remnants of that ancient city still sleep, waiting for the day when the world is ready to remember the war that shaped it and the gods, who ended an age to begin another. If you enjoyed this journey into myth, mystery, and the deep origins of our world, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because countless more forgotten legends are waiting to rise from the depths, and the next revelation might change everything you believe about history, humanity, and the gods. Thank you.